This government certainly was supportive in passing it, but the implementation of it has been a serious question.
Tonight, differences over the United Nations declaration arise in the Liberal and NDP alliance.
Has gone for so many years been like that, and I think it's time to change it.
Newfoundland and Labrador launch an inquiry into Inuk children in provincial care.
I was given a letter saying that I would be placed at 1-1 on the salary grid, as if I didn't have any education whatsoever, as if I was just a high school graduate coming in to babysit.
He's an Inuk teacher with a master's degree, but isn't getting the same pay as others. Good evening. Welcome to APTN National News. I'm Melissa Ridgen. We begin in Saskatchewan, where the search for a 5-year-old boy continues. Saskatchewan RCMP announced today that the search can safely return to the water now that the Carrot River has broken up. 5-year-old Frank Young has been missing from Red Earth Cree Nation since April 19th. Inspector Murray Chamberlain was the only official to speak at this morning's press conference. He says despite a public alert that was cancelled yesterday afternoon, the search will continue. He wouldn't comment on public sightings of Young, but said all tips were being investigated and the boy remains missing. RCMP released this technical map to detail their searches. In a 92 square kilometre area that size was based on how far a 5-year-old could probably travel.
We're able to track where searchers have been using GPS technology. Those are the colored lines and patches that you will see on that map. Tools like this allow us to record our search efforts and allow us to make informed decisions about where to search in the days to come. As we, along with many other organizations and individuals involved in this search effort, continue to look for Frank.
To Manitoba now, where flooding continues to plague the province's Interlake region. A number of First Nations have had to evacuate to escape the rising water. Peguist is the largest First Nation in Manitoba, and they've been affected by severe flooding every year for decades. As of today, more than 1,400 members were evacuated to hotels in Manitoba. Fisher River First Nation is adjacent to Peguist. They have evacuated almost 100 vulnerable band members. Overland flood warnings are now in effect for much of southern and central Manitoba, with 18 communities in total under a state of emergency. Well, ever since the NDP signed a formal agreement with the Liberals earlier this year, the parties faced accusations of propping up the government without question. Will the NDP hold the Liberals to account when it comes to the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People? Here's Fraser Needham with that.
NDP leader Jagmeet Singh has repeated many times that his party would walk away from its agreement with the Liberals if certain things are not delivered, such as national pharmacare and dental care plans. But the Liberals are facing an accusation of paying no more than lip service to UNDRIP. Their lawyers call it an interpretive aid only in a legal battle over an Alberta First Nations election delay. At a press conference in Ottawa Wednesday, Singh insisted the NDP will press the government to follow its own legislation on UNDRIP.
That is a clear example of where we're going to continue to push more because we need more action. This government certainly was supportive in passing it, but the implementation of it has been a serious question, as you've outlined. So we need to make sure that we are implementing this law into action, into decisions that are made by government, and that this law governs the decisions, particularly as it impacts Indigenous people.
Fraser Needham, APTN National News, Ottawa.
Delayed by the COVID pandemic, Newfoundland and Labrador has officially launched its inquiry into Inuk children in provincial care. It was called after 3 youth took their lives in 2017. As Angel Moore reports, the Inuk Nation says that the child welfare system simply doesn't work.
Wally Rich of the Natwashish Inuk Nation was only 15 years old and in provincial care when he took his own life 2 years ago. Wally's mother, Nympha Rich, was too upset to speak on camera, but sent APTN News a text message saying the system has been failing and, "I lost my son because of their system. He was in care for many years, and I always got told my boys are safe and you don't have to worry about it. That's what they always said." The Inuk Nation includes the Sheshashi and Natwashish communities, are north of Happy Valley Goose Bay. Inuk children placed in provincial care are often removed from their communities, which may be to another province. Inuk Nation Grand Chief Etienne Rich says culture and language are lost.
They come back home for several years, and then they don't have that language. They couldn't even communicate with their grandparents. That's a sad thing about it.
Inuk leaders hope to find answers through this inquiry.
The system doesn't work for us, and has gone for so many years been like that, and I think it's time to change, and I think to identify what exactly the problems are.
A press release said the 3 commissioners will focus on systemic causes of mistreatment, cultural and community impacts. They'll meet with Inuk leadership to discuss the needs of Inuk families and investigate individual cases of youth who've lost their lives. Grand Chief Rich is looking forward to working with the commissioners.
We've been saying that for so many decades that the system doesn't work for the Inuk, and we're the ones who will tell you what's best for the Inuk, because we're the ones who know. We're the ones who live in this system, doesn't work, and hurting our people and our elders.
The government of Newfoundland and Labrador is funding the inquiry $4 million, and it will take 18 months to complete. Hearings may begin next fall. Angel Moore, APTN National News, Jaboutuk, also known as Halifax.
Thanks, Angel. We want to hear what you think about the child welfare system where you live, what's working, what's not. Here's how you can let us know. Send your emails to news@aptn.ca. Leave a comment on aptnnews.ca. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see all of our latest stories. When Nunavut's school year began back in September, the territory was short 54 teachers. Only 30% of all Nunavut's teachers are Inuit. Now meet an Inuk with a master's degree in education who says he's being paid to teach at the same rate as people who have next to no education at all. Kent Driscoll has this report from Iqaluit.
This is Peter Allen Judai McKittrick. He's Inuk and from Coral Harbour, Nunavut, a small central Nunavut community of just under 900 people. He left to get his Bachelor's of Science in Mathematics and followed that up with a Master's in Education. When he returned to Coral Harbour, the school was short teachers, and he was looking to put his degrees to work. So he began teaching as a supply teacher.
That's been difficult because they don't have, there's not really an established program here. There's a lot of the other challenges that we see in Nunavut education, like the students are all at different levels of ability, and they sort of expect you to teach maybe 5 or 6 different levels of math and English within the whole same class.
Not ideal, but McKittrick had a plan. His master's included a document he wrote about trying to get Inuit kids more engaged in school, so he tried to use it. That's when he learned the education department wouldn't pay him like he had an education master's. They wanted a Bachelor of Education, or he would be paid like any other community member brought in to teach, at the bottom of the scale.
I was given a letter saying that I would be placed at 1-1 on the salary grid, as if I didn't have any education whatsoever, as if I was just a high school graduate coming in to babysit, pretty much. And that really, really upset me for that week.
He appealed his case through the union and was successful, a difference of about $20,000 a year. He was set to be paid like he was educated in education. Then, McKittrick says the Deputy Minister's office got involved.
This was 2 weeks later overruled by the head of the NTA and the Deputy Minister of Education.
So he decided to quit, until he found out that leaving the job would be considered job abandonment, and he would be ineligible to work for the government of Nunavut, the largest employer in the territory, for a period of 2 years. So he's going back to the classroom to finish out the year.
Sent me an email demanding that I return to work. And he has given me until the 13th of May to return, or else that will be a notice of abandonment, and I'll be barred from working in any GN position for a period of 2 years.
The Nunavut Department of Education did not respond to a series of questions we presented them about this story. Kent Driscoll, APTN National News, Iqaluit.
Joining us now is Kent Driscoll. Kent, where's the Education Department in all of this?
Thanks.
We wanted to know how many teachers have had raises denied by the Deputy Minister's office. We wanted to know how many have appealed, and how many Nunavut teachers have been considered to have abandoned their position this school year. And why people with a master's degree in education are considered educators. The department acknowledged receiving our questions yesterday, and an education department spokesman told me the answers are ready and they're waiting on the approval of the Deputy Minister to release them. Now, this is the same Deputy Minister who denied McKittrick his raise. As for the union, the Nunavut Teachers Union did not immediately get back to us when we had a request for comment. Back to you in Winnipeg.
Thanks, Kent. We need to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, making Edmonton schools friendlier learning spaces for Indigenous students, parents, and teachers.
One of the concerns across the board from all parties is that there needs to be more representation. There needs to be more collaboration with the Indigenous nations that are here in Alberta.
Unprecedented data from Statistics Canada illuminates Canada's transgender and non-binary population. It's the first time National Household Survey has differentiated between sex at birth and gender in the census. Our reporter Charlotte Mort-Jacobs spoke with LGBTQ2S Northerners for insight into what the numbers may mean for the community.
For the first time ever, transgender and non-binary Canadians have a space in Statistics Canada census data. New data released from 2021's collection show of the nearly 30.5 million people in Canada aged 15 and over living in a private household, just under 60,000 identify as transgender or non-binary. Theo Granjam, a transgender man from Yellowknife, says it's a step towards inclusion.
Filling out the census, seeing my own box there was definitely very validating to me. I didn't quite agree with just having the non-binary because there's so many other genders. There's agender, bigender, people who aren't non-binary, but they have to put that because all of those genders are getting thrown under that umbrella.
In recent years, there's been movement federally towards protection of LGBTQ2S+ communities.
An act to amend the Canadian Human Rights Act and Criminal Code that would ensure that Canadians will be free to identify themselves and to express their gender as they wish, while being protected against discrimination and hate.
Long-standing transgender advocate Gabrielle Landry in Hay River, Northwest Territories, says there's still work to be done in remote northern communities.
There is an awful lot of discrimination out there. People will look, but then they turn away. If you can educate people, then they might get an understanding of who you are, what you are.
Storm Lynn is Two-Spirit and a past NWT Pride president, who says outcomes from the transgender and non-binary census data need to be put under the direction of LGBTQ2S+ organizations.
Reach out to these already existing organizations and say, how can we help you versus this is how we're going to help you. Because the work is already getting done and the issues are already identified. So it'd be nice to see them kind of just reach out and say, how can we help?
Granjam says it's important to recognize almost any time LGBTQ2S+ folks are required to fill out paperwork, there's going to be othering.
Well, if you definitely do sign the other box, people kind of look at you. People are curious, and some of them are a little ignorant, what do you mean other? What are you? When at the end of the day, it doesn't truly matter to them how you identify,
Charlotte Mort-Jacobs, APTN National News, Yellowknife.
A new report shows that parents and students in Edmonton schools are still experiencing racism. The John Humphrey Centre for Peace and Human Rights has a call to action to deal with the issue. Chris Stewart explains.
The John Humphrey Center for Peace and Human Rights is a nonprofit whose goal is to reduce racism, discrimination, and hate. They held 6 dialogue to action sessions across the province called Action Alberta. Teachers, trustees, community members, and parents got together and talked about the issues of racism. John Humphrey Center released a final report on the public and Catholic schools in Edmonton, which listed calls to action to improve the system. Lainey Beaver is from Big Stone Cree Nation in Treaty 8. She was one of the facilitators for the Edmonton session. She heard their concerns.
One of the concerns across the board from all parties is that there needs to be more representation. There needs to be more collaboration with the Indigenous nations that are here in Alberta to work in collaboration with the public school boards, with the Catholic school boards, to really implement a type of programming and just having that representation is critical.
Beaver says sharing tools that have been proven to work is essential.
There are some really good programming out there, but we need to see more of it. And, to focus on our Indigenous students, I see it in various aspects, but it would be great to have it across the board and maybe have both of the school boards come together, collaborate, share their resources, and enhance that programming to protect our children.
Nita Asadi was also a facilitator at the Edmonton session. She says schools need to decolonize and provide more resources for students not from a European descent.
If we want to decolonize our schools, it's important to develop that sense of belonging for all of our students. Now, that means we promote different languages. We understand and accept that other languages are also knowledges that all of our students have. And so policies leak into curriculum. How we develop our curriculum is important. We want our students to see themselves in the curriculum.
This is something that may take a while, but there's also some implementation that we can take action on right now.
Edmonton Catholic Schools declined an interview, but in an emailed statement told APTN that they implemented an equity, diversity, inclusion, and anti-racism strategic plan last month. Edmonton Public Schools also declined an interview and in an emailed statement told APTN that they also have an anti-racism and equity policy in place. A final report is expected in June, which will cover 6 communities: St. Paul, Slade Lake, Calgary, Lethbridge, Red Deer, and Edmonton. There was a collaboration session scheduled for June 30th with Edmonton Public Schools and the Catholic schools to share ideas. Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Edmonton.
Well, it's time for one more break, but still ahead, we catch up with some of the OGs of native TikTok to learn how the platform launched them into a whole new sphere. Stay with us. Welcome back. It's time now for our photo of the day. Today is May the 4th, and in the spirit of this celebratory day, this photo shows the setting sun as the light shines across the skyline and we see the Jedi Temple. Be sure to send your great photos by email to share@aptn.ca for the chance to be featured as our next photo of the day. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. To the east coast, we've got cloud 9 for St. John's, sunshine, and 14 for Fredericton. Kuujjuaq, snow and 3 degrees, -3 in Inukjuak with a chance of flurries there. Lots of sun for Quebec. Gaspé, 7 degrees. Montreal, 17. 18 and sunny for Ottawa, 19 and sunny in London. 13 and showers for Kapuskasing. Big Trout Lake, you got a chance of flurries, high of 7. Mix of sun and cloud for Norway House, 15 degrees. 15 as well for you in the Paw. 19 and sunny for Winnipeg, 20 and sunshine for Brandon. Sun continues into Saskatchewan, 26 for Yorkton, 25 for Estevan. Mix of sun and cloud and 13 degrees expected for Buffalo Narrows, 12 and cloud for Stony Rapids. Sunshine and 18 for Fort McMurray. Grand Prairie, 14 and cloud. 19 with a mix of sun and cloud for Edmonton, 26 in Medicine Hat, 20 in sunshine for Penticton, 11 and showers for Victoria, Sandspit, 9 and cloud, 11 and cloud for Prince George. Same with Mayo and Dawson City. We are getting some cloud and 11 degrees. Same with you in Beaver Creek. Sunshine and 11 for Yellowknife, 13 for Fort Leard and Trout Lake. 1 and snow for Fort McPherson and Nunavut, -1 and flurries there. New Yacht -2 and sunny Cambridge Bay -1 and a chance of flurries. Sunshine and -3 for Clyde River. Pengertung -5 and sunshine. Indigenous content creators on various social media platforms like TikTok and Instagram and YouTube spread humor and education. What started out as a hobby for some has bloomed into a much bigger opportunity. It's launched new careers for Brett Moussois, Sherry McKay, just to name a couple. Here's what some of them had to say.
I think, for me, I think that is probably one of the best and most it's probably one of the best things that I can say came out of what I'm doing in TikTok is going out and engaging with the youth.
Has it led to any sort of collaborations or sponsorships?
Yeah, absolutely. Sponsorships, and I've always been heavily inclined to always promote Indigenous artists and Indigenous brands and everything. So I think for the most part, I put that at the forefront. Like if I'm being asked, because I get asked a lot, they're like, "Hey, can you promote this? Would you be able to like do this and that?" And I want to know what their engagements are in the Indigenous community, what they're doing, right? So I look at that, and I always look forward to working with Indigenous brands that are wanting to promote our healthy lifestyle. So it's always great, and yeah, absolutely. I've been asked by a lot of people to create videos and to like create things for their youth events too. So that's pretty awesome.
What is next for Sherry McKay?
Well, I am currently writing a script.
You said that. Give us a little bit of a. Oh, it's for a sitcom?
Yeah.
Can you tell us anything about it? Just the general what it would entail?
I'm gonna be in it.
We wouldn't watch if you weren't.
I'm gonna be in it. It's gonna revolve around Indigenous stereotypes, but have a huge focus on Indigenous comedy.
Love her and Brett. And a big thanks to our own TikTok magician, Savannah Kelly, who joined me to co-host In Focus today. Well, that is your midweek news. I'm Melissa Ridgen. We're always thankful that you can join us. Have a wonderful night. Dennis Ward will be back in the seat tomorrow.
She's in there though.
When do they stay? When you put up the thing, do they get all riled up?
Depends on usually